I mean, allowing the children to literally sit in front of the television. Now, I want to read something, and I would recommend people read this book. It's called Homeschooling for Excellence, How to Take Charge of Your Child's Education, and Why You Absolutely Must. Now, here's a non-Muslim warning people in this country about and he's not a Christian. He's not coming from a religious point of view. He's coming from an academic point of view. He's not even coming from a moral point of view. He's just saying, if you want your children to be intelligent, you better get them out of these public schools. Now, he was a school teacher. His wife was a school teacher. They raised these 4 children, 3 of them up to the 18th year. They did their high school at home. And 3 of them, at the time the book was written, were in Harvard. They were accepted into Harvard because of their scores and because of what they'd done, their academic work at home, which I don't think that should be a goal of a Muslim, to end up at Harvard. I mean, that's the Azhar of Kufr. You see, what Azhar used to be like, you say, my son's going to Azhar. That's what the Kafirun say. My son's going to Harvard. That's the Azhar of Kufr. You see? And the Qarawiyyin is like the Cornell. And Princeton is like the Zaytuna. And that's the way it is. You see, every system, every empire, every civilization has their sources of pride. And these are the sources of pride of the kuffar. So if you want your son to be the best kafir he can be, send him to the best kafir school that you can find. Because that's what will happen. And if it doesn't, it's by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They failed at what they set out to do. In other words, he didn't get educated there. Right? They failed. Now, I just want to read something that he says that I find very interesting. Page 58. Paul Cooperman is less sweeping but no less critical as he observes that a child spends more time between the ages of 5 and 18 in front of the television set. 15,000 hours is the average American child. Then in school, 11,500 hours. Right? And remarks, quote, consider what a child misses during the 15,000 hours he spends in front of the TV screen. He is not working in the garage or in the garden, not doing homework or reading or collecting stamps, not cleaning his room, washing the supper dishes, cutting the lawn, not playing baseball, going fishing, painting pictures. I mean, this is their dream. We would have a whole other set of criteria. He's not reading Quran. He's not learning about his deen. He's not going to the masjid. He's not doing the things that he's supposed to be doing. Exactly what does television offer that is so valuable? Now, in short, television is an enormous childhood energy drain. But once a parent recognizes this, what can be done? Question mark. What can be done? Now here, a very few, keep television out of the home. 98% of American households have television. The ones that don't is 2% of the United States. And that's a worldwide plan. They want to get it into every house. Fitnatun tadkhulu kullu baytin min wabrin wa madar. Beautiful hadith. Allahu a'lam if it applies to that. But in the end of time there will be us. Fitna also means seduction. It means something that seduces you. And my father, who doesn't have a television, told me, because in 1958 when they first got one, he said that it was so seductive. That's the word he used. That he didn't want it because he likes to read. He didn't want it in the house. And he said in houses that he goes to, it's like a little mouse in the corner. How can you keep your eye off of it? You see, and that's what happens. So here's the problem. Now listen to this. So some keep television out of their home, enough to distinguish between the occasionally worthwhile program and more typical fare. But many parents are themselves regular viewers. So what do? You don't want your child to watch television, but you're watching television all the time. Many of the parents are themselves regular viewers, if not addicts. Now, addiction's an interesting thing. And people don't talk. You have 12-step programs for everything. 12-step programs for donut eaters, 12-step program for every addiction imaginable. But you cannot find a 12-step program in the United States for television anonymous, you see. And that's a major addiction. Why? I really wonder about that. Why aren't there like groups of people sitting together? Boy, I'm so glad I'm, let go and let God. I got it out of my life, and the first couple of weeks I was shaking every day and getting goosebumps, but I got over it. And you know what I found out? Life was actually really interesting. I didn't have to watch TV. I could actually talk to my family, my children. All of a sudden we were having conversations. That's true. Read a book called The Plug-in Drug by Denise Wynn, and she talks about people who their televisions broke down and they couldn't afford to get it fixed. And she interviewed them, and they told how their life suddenly became wonderful, and they became human, and they actually had interactions. And then what would happen? When they got money, they'd get it fixed, and they'd see themselves go back to the old way of life. It's amazing. Human beings are incredible creatures, really. The more you think about it, the more amazed, ajaban. That's all you can say. We are amazing creatures. But many parents are themselves addicts and find it difficult to impose restrictions on their children in the light of their own habits. You see, in other words, if you're addicted, how can you tell your child, go do your homework? He doesn't see you reading a book. Why aren't you reading Quran? You're watching, your sick comedy. What? You're just instilling in him nifaq. That's all. That's all you're doing. One solution is to undergo a program of gradual withdrawal. See, that's what you have cold turkey. Right? You have cold turkey where they lock the addict up in a hotel room and he bangs on the door. You take the television out, smash it, and they'll flip out and go through all these. And then the other one is gradual withdrawal, which is easier on the system. By sharply limiting viewing to programs carefully selected in advance, parents and children can jointly transform television from a habit into just one of the many activities in which they can individually or collectively participate. Take that for what it is, but it's an interesting point that he's making about that. Now, so there's the two things that we're responsible for: raising the body of our children and raising their souls, nurturing their intellects, their emotions, and their... Now, but here we are in this whole thing of teenagers and all this wahm, it's all illusion, and recognizing that if you've allowed them to watch television, they have absorbed the whole culture. They've absorbed rebellion against the parents. You see, if you're allowing them to watch things like Bart Simpson or all these terrible situation comedies, which are really tragedies. They should be called situation tragedies because they're not comedy. I mean, they had in a newspaper here, the San Jose Mercury, a few days ago, they had a picture of the principal of the elementary school being smashed with pies in the face by children in the school because it was for a fundraising thing, and any child that could raise $1,000 got to throw a pie in the face of this principal. That's anarchy. I mean, really, what kind of values are you teaching children? Why couldn't it be a positive reward? Why couldn't it be something that elevated the child? No, it's something that had to denigrate and it was something that was a wretched thing to do. I mean, subhanAllah, what Muslims would never even in a million years think of that, of taking the principal of a school, the mu'addid, and taking a child and smashing a pie in their face. First of all, you're wasting food, which is haram. It's just a whole thing. But this is from watching Bart Simpson and these things. That's where they're getting these ideas from. Really. That's where they get it from. So, but what do you do now, given the fact that you have these teenagers? I mean, here's what we need to do. First of all, we need to get this place, we need to put some money in this place. Seriously. And we need to literally transform this place so that it is a community center that has activities for our youth to be doing things in positive, halal environments. If you don't provide halal environments, they've provided millions of haram environments for them to go and flirt with the boys at the mall, or the boys flirt with the girls at the mall. It's all out there for them, you see. And if we don't provide alternatives for that, then don't be surprised. And one of the things television does is it creates boredom in children. Children become bored with just normal activities of life because television is very fast. The average frame on TV is 3.5 seconds. And so you watch something like MTV. Don't watch it. No, I shouldn't say don't watch it. But you watch something like MTV and you're dealing with flashes that these are subliminal messages. I mean, why did you mention that Harvard is the University of Kufa? Because they're certainly not teaching Islam there, and they're also teaching a worldview. I mean, I actually went there and lectured there and met some of the people in the Islamic Studies department, and I tell you, if you want to keep your child a Muslim, I wouldn't send them to study Islamic Studies there at Harvard, because I think that these universities are not our universities. They have a different methodology. They have, there are certain sciences that they have, but even those sciences, there's a worldview that goes with it, whether you like it or not. I mean, really. They don't have religion. They're not going to teach you in biology that there's a God. They're not going to teach you in astronomy that there's a God. They're not going to teach you that there are constraints on the human being, that we have limitations to what we can do in creation. I mean, Yusuf, he's finishing his PhD at Stanford, in science. What do you feel? I mean,
devoid of anything having to do with Allah.
Yeah, I think that's the experience of people that go through it, that it has nothing to do with Allah. And what we call something that has nothing to do with Allah, I call that kufr. And people, maybe you want to send your son to Harvard. That's your problem. Not mine.
This one that you have,